Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns and Creatures series of comedy, fantasy novels, and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today we're talking about the spell Warp Sense.
Whoa, dude. How many mushrooms did you give me? Uh,
That is not what the spell is about.
no, not even a little bit. But,
That's what I
it's
thought when I saw it, though.
listen, you made the joke earlier as we were getting into this, and I had to steal it for the
That wasn't
comedy
a
viewers.
joke. That was genuinely what I thought this was going to be, like a confusion kind of effect. It
No,
warps your
not even a little bit.
senses. No.
Instead, this is from the new book from it's in this spot right here in this book, and it's not readily available online at a lot of places, except soon to be the Caverns Creatures website. It wasn't whenever I googled it 30 seconds ago. But by the time this goes up, you'll probably be able to find that review there with the
Yeah.
text and everything. This says concentration, it's cast time of an actions, range self, verbal somatic material components. It requires a razor vine leaf, which is relevant just because sigils covered them, and that's like where it's supposed to be casted. And so it's very much like a setting specific spell. It even says like in the thing about this that it's like, hey, this is for this setting specifically, and doesn't really work anywhere else. And they're right, this really doesn't work anywhere else. Because what it does is, for the duration, which again is concentration up to a minute, you sense the presence of portals, even inactive ones within 30 feet of yourself. If you detect a portal in this way, you can use your action to study it. Make a DC 15 ability check using your spellcasting ability. On a successful check, you learn the destination plane of the portal and what portal key it requires, and then the spell ends. On a failed check, you learn nothing and can't study that portal again using the spell until you cast it again. Which means if you find an active portal and you're like, that's very clearly an active portal, where does it go? I'm going to cast Warp Sense. I learn nothing. There goes your second level spell slot. The spell can penetrate most barriers, but is blocked by a foot of stone, an inch of common metal, and a thin sheet of lead, 3 foot of wood, dirt, all that jazz. So, you detect portals, even inactive ones. That's the main text here, is you detect inactive portals, because regular portals can get detected, but detect magic.
Okay, so let me ask you, why is this setting specific? Is it just because of the razor vine leaf?
No, well, Razorvine Leaf is also in the DMG, so it's like supposed to be more available than that. But it's setting specific because Planescape is all about portals and sigil and going from world to world to world. If you are not in that setting, you have to be in a game where you know without a shadow of a doubt that on a regular adventuring day, portals are going to play a role in your adventure. And that is not 99.9% of tables. That is not the average D&D adventurer. That isn't the average released D&D module. Will not have most have no portals in them. Some have one or two at best. So like most of the time, this spell has no text in the most settings out there that exist.
All right, so going back again to that, what is the ranger class or subclass with all the portals?
Horizon Walker.
Horizon Walker. All right, so in a setting where you would be playing a Horizon Walker, and that would be a useful thing, this could work as well.
Conceivably. It's not a ranger spell, though. Notably, this is a warlock, wizard, sorcerer spell. Both the spells in this book are those three classes exclusive.
Well, then,
so,
yeah, you get portal, team portal.
Well, the thing is, like, Horizon Walkers just sense the direction of where they are with detect portal, which is like, yeah, okay, you just know where they are. Neat. If you're in Sigil, you go, they're everywhere. Like, that's... okay,
Yeah.
sure.
Okay, so yeah, I guess what I'm really trying to say is there's not much reason to be a Horizon Walker.
Also that. They get haste. That's not nothing.
Yeah.
We haven't done all the Ranger subclasses yet. I'm sure we will at some point. I've written about all of them. I don't remember what I wrote about Horizon Walker, to be entirely honest with you. But for the case of this little spell, for the case of Warp Sense, I don't even think in these environments I really care to take it that much. Like, as a sorcerer, definitely not, because I don't want to spend one of my few known spells on this. As a warlock, I don't want to spend spell slots on this, because this isn't a ritual spell. This is something you have to, like, invest a spell slot in, and you have to spend at your highest level. So if you're, like, a 9th level warlock, you go, well, crap, I have to spend a 5th level spell slot to get Warp Sense if I need to know where this portal goes, if I need to know what the key to this portal is. Which, notably, portal keys, briefly, can be anything. It could be a water bottle. It could be, a dried turd. Doesn't really matter. It just needs to be related to that specific portal, and then that lets you open it. And for a brief moment, you can go through it.
I don't want to open the dried turd portal.
Neither do I. But like, that's the gist of how portal keys work. Knowing what the portal key is might have value in specifically Sigil. Maybe this is the kind of thing where you're like, all right, we need this spell as a gate to like figure out how to go through these specific portals. If you're planning on going through a lot of them, this might find a home on that sheet. I still think a lot of adventures in Sigil in the Outlands, in the plane chase setting, aren't gonna really need this. Most of the time, your DM wants you to be able to access the realms and worlds and engage with it on a scope outside of needing something like this. So, like, I wouldn't expect the spell to do much of anything at even the tables sort of aim to be good at.
It's going back to the astral projection thing again.
Yeah.
If your DM wants you to go there, a way will be provided.
Yeah. This is the kind of thing where, like, if I wrote about this when I talked about it, this or Gate Seal, one of the two. D&D isn't really like a Metroidvania, and those are like a genre of games like Castlevania or Super Metroid where there are gates and you find abilities that unlock those gates. That isn't really how D&D is structured on a DM side of things, right? The DM doesn't sit down and go, okay, I'm going to show them a little thing that they can't unlock yet, so when they hit third level, they'll get a tool that lets them unlock it. That's not how the game works. It's more responsive than that generally. Some DMs might, but most DMs are going to see, okay, my players have these tools at their disposal now. I can throw these kinds of problems at them because they have these tools available to them. Honestly, most DMs don't even go that far. Most DMs just go, I expect an average adventurer to be able to handle this kind of problem, and thus these are the kind of problems I throw at them. Like 5th level characters, probably very effect damage is pretty substantial, so I'll throw more monsters at them. They have extra attacks, so they can handle more monsters, right? That's the general gist of it. Detect magic ends up being like, oh, you noticed this thing that I was planning because I happen to use a lot of magic, not because necessarily it was something that you were requiring them have.
Right.
Gate Seal and Warp Sense in this particular instance, your DM has to buy in before it can even work. And a lot of DMs aren't going to consider that. A lot of DMs aren't going to say, well, I don't want the party to have to take this, especially if, you got a monk, a fighter, and a cleric. That group literally has no access to Warp Sense, so they can't fundamentally make the game care about it. And with that kind of them creating problems that your characters are suited to fit, suited to sort of challenge, these kinds of effects end up being, if they're working, it's because your DM is giving you windows for them to work, not because they're like actively a regular tool like invisibility or like Misty Step that has a lot of variation in how useful it is.
Right. I guess the ultimate example of this was the what was that one? Create spell jamming helm.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right? That spell is exactly for people that say, we need to make a spell jamming helm. I'm going to take this spell so we can build our own ship. And the DM goes, oh, you didn't want to just buy one? Okay, yeah, sure. No, yeah, that works too.
Yeah.
Like, that's just how it ends up happening. This is slightly more usable than that is. I expect that I would more regularly, like, detect dead portals in a city like Sigil than I would spontaneously stumble into a need to take a way to build a helm of a ship. But, like, I still don't think this is going to be something that you should expect to need. If you want to play with it, your DM will probably throw you some softballs and be like, oh, yay, you can use this thing to detect where that hidden portal is. But most of the time, you'll find clues that get you there anyway. So.
Or unless you talk to your DM first, or he talks to you and says, "Hey, I'm making this world. There's portals everywhere. It might be a good idea for somebody to have this spell."
Yeah, if in session 0 you hear the DM go, Warp Sense will be valuable here, then you put Warp Sense on your sheet because all of a sudden it's finding the closed portals and stuff, because the DM has prepped everyone to say, I want this spell to matter. If you want it to be useful, if you want to be the person detecting it, put this on your sheet. The vast majority of the characters still can't interface with that. They might have some issues where the DM goes, I need somebody to be a wizard in this party. Because if no one's a wizard in this party, this entire axis of the game is just not going to get touched on. I'm going to have to find like workarounds so that you can continue progressing. So it's going to be, some pain points, I think.
Yeah, it's just anytime you have something like that, like even if they got like you were saying before, if the DM is going out of his way to put portals there because you took this spell, that could be a big bag of headaches for the DM. If you say, all right, ooh, portal, that's going somewhere that this is the DM's planned adventure has nothing to do with.
Yeah. It also, like, its duration is short and its distance is short. This is a 30-foot range detector, so you already have to suspect that there is a portal within walking distance of you, within a minute walking distance of you, right? If that's not the case, it doesn't help you at all find them. So in settings that have more sporadic portals where you're still expected to find them, Horizon Walker gives you it's that way. This does not interface with that at all. If you're in a portal-ridden environment, this I don't think is even necessarily that handy to have, just because the range is so limited anyway. If you're in a big open space, like a large battle map, sometimes you just won't cover the whole thing in the time it takes for this to end. And then you just spend a second level spell slot and nothing happens. Plus, like,
this does tell you if you succeed that the destination plane. So, I mean, if you've got
okay, Hold on.
wall of 6 portals.
Where do they go?
Yeah.
Yeah, assuming you make the check. But also times, so like in the books, like, so we're talking about and reviewing all these right now. In the books, they have art that's showing like this is a plane that goes to functionally undead hell, and it's a giant cragged black thing with arms coming through, and you're like, well, no shit. Like, yes, we knew this went somewhere we didn't want to go. Thanks for the heads up, game. That's very not kind of you.
Well, it depends
right?
on what the portals look like. I mean, if you can see through, okay, but if they're like Rick and Morty portals, it's just a green blob, and I don't know.
So if we're moving further and further away from games being played, then, right? Like, we're not even talking about common descriptions of these kinds of portals that would give you some kind of inclination as to where they are, where they're supposed to go.
Yeah, I mean, this is this clears the fog.
Sure.
If it works.
If it works.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, if you can see through it, then yeah, you might not need that aspect of the spell at all.
Yeah. I'm gonna say this deserves a 1 out of 5. I think that if you are going to this table and you don't know, if your DM hasn't said this spell is going to be important, I wouldn't expect it to be important. To the point where, like, if you're expected to find and navigate and explore even portals to some nature, I think you're better off using context clues. I think you're better off finding magic items. I think you're better off engaging with the tools DM gives you for free as opposed to spending spell slots and, investments into this. Again, especially a sorcerer or warlock. Wizards can afford it a little bit better, but this isn't even a ritual. I don't know why this doesn't have the ritual tag. This is the exact kind of effect that really wants to have the ritual tag. Like someone take 10 minutes, they scope around the space, you get thorough investigation, they can detect the portals. The fact that you have to spend spell slots on this makes it, even in the case for wizards, just rough. I don't want to see this if I'm playing in these kinds of games, to be honest with you.
Yeah. It probably deserves a 1. I'm feeling a little generous. I mean, all right, yes. In a vacuum, definitely 1. Like, if you haven't had the talk with the DM, then yeah, you don't want this. But for those instances where the DM said, all right, this is going to be important, I'll give it a 2 for the possibility of that happening.
I mean, doesn't that end up just feeling like my DM spent costing me 2nd level spell slots to play the game? Like, doesn't that what it ends up feeling like, right?
Yeah, but then, like, if it is an important part of their campaign and you are the portal guy, that can be fun. Like, all right, glad we dodged that bullet. I could see through that portal, and we're not going to go that way.
This one goes to the abyss. This one goes to that world full of hot tubs. Like, let's go to the hot tub one. That sounds way better. Like, I still even struggle to find, like, instances in my brain where you're making actionably different decisions with obtaining this information, right? Like, unless the information you're gaining is what opens this portal, that's where I think it's at all usable, is we figure out what the key is that we need for this, and we go then on a fetch quest to find the key. That is the only time that you're making an actionably different decision. Otherwise, it's like, well, we watched someone go through there. Should we chase them? I mean, what it ends up coming down to isn't the danger level of the area you're going into, but it's how critical it is that you catch that individual, right? It's how critical it is that that person is caught. If they go to the abyss, you're going to have to chase after them if you need to. If they go somewhere and you're like, we don't know where that goes, we don't need to chase them, it doesn't really matter where they go to, right? You can just still say, okay, we're not going to chase them into a blind portal. I'm not going to spend the 2nd level spell slot because we don't need to. And the difference in there goes, I guess they went to Elysium, so maybe we chase them into Elysium. I don't really see that happening.
I'm not looking at this as much as like chasing somebody. I'm thinking more like, all right, we need to go to the abyss for whatever reason. I need to know which portal goes there.
Ask someone in the city of planes, right? Like, this is a world that's dedicated to the idea of planar travel, and you're telling me you couldn't find that information? And instead, you're just going to mindlessly go around and be like, where is the abyss?
All right, some people value self-sufficiency.
Some people are old curmudgeon men refusing to ask for directions, is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
I'm playing a truck-driving boomer as my character archetype for this next D&D campaign. I do kind of love that, actually.
All right, well, there you go. That was Warp Sense. Thank you, Sam, and thank you, everyone, for joining us. Let us know what you think about this spell. Most of you probably haven't had a chance to use it yet, but yeah, whatever. Leave some comments, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, informative, or entertaining, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button below. You needn't smash it, a gentle tap will suffice. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. And make sure you check out the links in the description, where you'll find my Caverns and Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels, Sam's full review of the spell, and other fun things.